Hello and welcome to CIO Leadership Live in ASEAN. My name is Shireen Robert, editor of ASEAN based in Singapore, and we're back for another episode in conversation with IT leaders across Southeast Asia and Hong Kong around leadership, innovation, and business strategy. Today, I'm joined by Sandeep Pandey, Group Chief Technology and Operations Officer of FWD Insurance in Hong Kong. Welcome, Sandeep.
Thank you, Shireen. It's a pleasure to be with you today.
Awesome. So just to give yourself an opportunity to introduce yourself to our audience, maybe share a bit more about the role that you have. It's a really long title, so give some insight into what actually you do on a day-to-day.
Thank you. Yes, as my title says, I look after the technology and operations. As you know, I've been in the technology for quite some time, and I have also done country operations role in my previous experiences as well. So just introducing myself, I'm the Group Chief Technology and Operations Officer for FWD. And what does that mean is I'm responsible for the customer, the operations, as well as, the technology for FWD from end-to-end perspective, group-wide, across all the 10 markets we operate in. And, if you see predominantly my experience, I started from manufacturing. Of course, I started from FMCG, and then I moved into financial services, way back in early 2000s from, AIG to AIA and Bupa and now FWD. And it has always been, I'm so excited to see how insurance industry has really transformed in the last 15, 20 years, where technology has really become a center stage of, the driving the business strategy as well, right? So that has always been the thing which has driven me. So in my current, the role, I look at the customer operations from end-to-end perspective. And what does that mean, Shireen, is like, how do we are very passionate about, if you know, our vision is to change the way people feel about insurance. So I'm very passionate about how do we create the 360 of customer experience, which I talk about, the customer experience side of it, because we're a customer-led company. The distribution experience, because our agents, bank partners, brokers, everybody is important. And last but not least is also the employee experience side of it. So we need to look at all three sides of the customer experience, in my view. And then we should be creating those solutions which cater to our end customer, also our employee experience, as well as for our distribution. You asked me, what does your day look like? So of course, on a day-to-day basis, it's all about, so I bucket every one of us, our leadership role, in two buckets: enabling the growth and looking at the operational efficiency, right? Because we need to do both. So of course, insurance is a sales-driven organization. So you have to actively sell insurance, and we need to enable that. And that brings the growth, that brings the protection, that brings the, the savings product through our channels. But of course, we need to also operate efficiently. And that brings the simplification side of it, the agility side of it. And we will talk some of the things, I'm sure, about cloud and how some of the new techs are enabling that. So, to be honest, on a day-to-day basis, I engage with businesses a lot, really understand. We have a clear 3-year, the technology and operations strategy aligned with our business strategy. And day-to-day basis, my role would be around ensuring, are we actively listening to our customers? What are the things which are coming in? Large programs, how are they progressing? How's employee engagement sentiments are? And so on and so forth, right? So that to me is what my role involves on a day-to-day basis.
You're kind of in a unique position in terms of managing both technology and people, especially having such a close relationship with customers in an organization that is really about making sure customers benefit from, the products that you're selling. I'm curious to know, as I was preparing for our chat today, I was learning a bit more about, your experience, your background. And you mentioned you've been in the insurance sector for quite some time now, and primarily managing technology. So in your mind, in your view, how have you seen technology evolve across the years? And currently, how does that impact the way you execute strategies?
That's a great question. I think technology, if you go back from industrial age to our, the information age to the, then now we are in AI and Gen AI age, technology has always enabled people to become more efficient, right? For example, right? So, manufacturing processes, for example, has always got automated. In insurance, financial services as well. The things that are on paper, your requirement to have that paperless experience, for example, your requirement to have that, the quick turnaround time when we submit a servicing request or a claims request, your requirement to ensure that I give you a personalized experience, in a more simplified way, and I cut through the red tape quickly, and get to where you want to get to as a customer, rather than having to go through so many screens and so many things. It has been the evolution. The evolution has been also moving away from paper-based transaction to really digital-based experience, or in the last, the advent of all this digital age and digital insurance. As you know, we have been bagging Digital Insurer of the Year for quite some time, and we cater to all segments, Shireen. It's not just a particular segment. So the solutioning which we have to do needs to be catering to all strata of our customers, not just for that matter Gen Zs or Gen X. It has to be all, right? So that brings to the fact that, and technology has evolved. Today we take smartphone as for granted, so it's a computer in your hand. Literally, it has everything you do and spend a lot of time there. So technology has evolved a lot in the last 15, 20 years. And so has the insurance industry. Embracing that technology has also evolved. Gone are those days where insurance used to be a lagger. It used to be behind, the banking industry. I would argue that the innovations which have happened in the last 15 years in insurance is happened far more faster and at the pace, and which is what is exciting. So I've seen a lot of those insurance transformations have happened through this, the digital transformation. And honestly speaking, we are as good as if our customers really like that experience, then it makes sense. For example, you can invest in all kind of technology, all kind of these digital tools. But if they don't use it, if they don't experience it, and if they don't appreciate it, it's of no point. Another thing which I feel has also, we don't talk much about, is having the foundation uplift in place, Shireen, right? So for example, infrastructure as a code, cloud transformations, I would say information security, which are normally taken for granted, is also gone through a huge transformation over the last, I would say last 15, 20 years, because the threat actors are changing. They're becoming more sophisticated. Your threat landscapes are changing. So you have to look at technology from end-to-end perspective. You have to look at from your fundamentals. How do you look at that? Information security, and then creating those, the CX, the DX, and also the employee experience, which I talk about. And what are those digital tools which is going to move the needle to enable both the growth as well as the operational efficiency, which we need to look at. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with the approach. I especially love the part about, leaving no customer behind. I'm sure my grandparents' generation would appreciate that a lot, especially because in this technology age where it's also advancing really quick, it's tough for them to keep up. They've come from a time where all these digital tools did not exist. When they were going to make an insurance claim, it was going to their trusted advisor, to seek that kind of application process and things like that. So it's entirely different experience for them right now. And we'll get into a bit more about, how you're meeting those customer expectations, varied customer expectations, later on in this conversation. But first, I wanted to focus a bit more on that cloud transformation that you were speaking about. For FWD, how has that journey been like? And how, given the time that you've had to implement and also see the results of it, where do you see it impacting the business the most?
Another great question, Shireen. I think you got a list of all great questions today, I'm sure. So cloud for us from the beginning was a holistic business strategy, and that's where we differentiate. It was not just a technology strategy. Right from the beginning, the commitment from all the way from our, the board to the top management and to the businesses were always there. So about 3.5 years ago when I came in, I saw that opportunity to say, you know what, if we really want to be the customer-led company, which we are, we need to make sure that we are quickly moving and embracing these, the advancement of cloud, which is happening. Having your workload in data center is not be able to give you that efficiency, and that I'm not just talking about the cost efficiency, but the scale, the stability, and the experience we are after, and also the turnaround times, right? So your speed to market, your way to ensure that we are able to spin off, the workloads and switch it off when we don't need a demand base that workload is very important. And most important thing, when we started this cloud transformation journey, Shirin, we were right at the center of COVID, right? As you can see. And imagine if we didn't have that kind of enablement for our staff to work remotely, enablement for our distribution and for our customers to be able to interact with us seamlessly, it would have become another challenge, right? So you trying to get servers during that time, it would have been months before you could get any workload. So it has enabled our business to be resilient. It has enabled our business to continue to focus on what we want to do for our customers, but also ensuring that we are embracing these advancements in the cloud transformation, which has been happening. So when we started in December 2021, we were at like 27%. Today, we are at 97% on cloud, right? So we have done the rapid deployment into cloud and not like leaving any, again, markets behind. So we have done, if you look at across our markets are 90% at least, each of the markets up, and certain markets are even 100% on cloud, for example, right? So that's been our cloud transformation journey. The differentiation I always make, Shirin, is that your tech strategy has to be 100% aligned with your business strategy. And if we are looking at changing the way people feel about insurance, we want to enable that growth. We want to be customer-led company. We want to create a differentiated experience. Then we got to have the cloud infrastructure in the backend already transformed. And our cloud transformation was not just about lifting and shifting applications to the cloud. It was also about actually transforming, modernizing, and getting rid of those old applications while we were doing that. 33% of our application estate is completely decommissioned, modernized as a virtue in the last 3 years. So we actually removed, the number of applications of 33% of our entire applications to actually get that. So we had two clear KPIs. We wanted to do cloud adoption, or what we call it as our cloud adoption KPI, but also application rationalization KPI, which means we need to modernize our applications as well, or not just lift and shift from data center to cloud, because that's going to increase the cost. We all know that if you just remove a lift and shift. So that's why we were very conscious about doing it the right from the beginning, putting that business strategy alignment, how it is going to enable product turnaround times, how it is going to enable my resiliency, stability, scalability, how it is going to ensure that I have that distinct competitive advantage, but also most important of it all, that it is efficiently run once it is gone into the cloud. We have done cloud FinOps to make sure that, they constantly looking at how the workloads are managed on the cloud as well. So sorry for having more detailed, answers on that, but I think it's important for audience to understand that, driving a cloud transformation is very different from on paper to actually executing it. And we were very clear from the beginning that we're going to have a multi-cloud strategy. So we have our two key cloud sources. So not every brand available out there, but definitely we had AWS as well as Azure, our two key providers on our cloud. And so we were very clear, so arguably people will say that, oh, I have multi-cloud, but if you go around and see 90 to 95% of their workload will be on just one of the cloud providers. We are really very different. We are truly multi-cloud, and our workloads are roughly and equally divided between the two workloads. It gives us a bit of, again, resilience among the cloud providers. We don't want to put all our eggs in our one basket. It also gives us, I would say, the negotiation and competitive edge in terms of ensuring that both the key cloud providers are interested and giving us that kind of attention which we need, because we can never forget, Shireen, that we are a regulated business. We are a regulated business in each market. So another key important thing is that even the regulators have really become very progressive in the last 10 years. As you can see, they're looking at how insurance industries are going to embrace this and keep still our PDPA responsibility, our data security responsibility, information security responsibility. And with that, with cloud, it becomes much better because your visibility becomes better. Your ability to protect it and deliver it faster becomes better. And of course, you need to keep on protecting it, and your layered security, microsegmentation, those all become very important. And so see, it's also about execution, right? So making sure that our regulatory requirements are fulfilled, making sure that we do not have anything taken for granted in each market, not just in Hong Kong, but in Singapore, in Malaysia, in Indonesia, and making sure we have both sides of the regulations taken care. So that was our focus. Of course, last but not least, on the cloud also becomes very important is the talent, because everybody is going to fight for the same talent. So how do you ensure that? So we launched Technology Academy 2 years plus ago to make sure that our skills are upskills and reskilled internally to take care of that. So you need to take care of all elements of it, the strategy side of it, the implementation side of it, business alignment side of it, also making sure how it's going to be proof points based, KPI led, but also our people led, because ultimately you need right set of people to be able to manage that, from end-to-end perspective. So that has been our cloud transformation journey, which I'm very proud of the team in the group as well as in the markets for the achievements we've had. And we have a lot of accreditation from, the industry for doing it differently, for doing it at speed, and also being a very good success story for us at FTTD.
And you're absolutely right that the devil's in the details. I'm sure you have taken the time to, put careful thought into how you want to actually combine the best set of tools and infrastructure and people in the process all in one, to create this journey and transformation. And as you mentioned, you manage 10 different markets, 10 very different markets, which would have their own set of, cultures, people, process, technology. How do you see technology operations and adoption differ among the markets that you operate? And if yes, why do you think it differs in vast ways or not? And in your capacity, how do you close the gaps so that you can offer, that sense of unified and seamless experience that both employees and customers across the board like to receive?
That's again, great question. So I think I'm being very fortunate to be able to work in the group office roles as well as in the markets roles. So if you see, I've worked in Hong Kong market, I've worked in Singapore, I've worked in Malaysia market. So I've been able to appreciate both sides of the coin very, quickly. Because sometimes you have never worked in group office, you would always say that, I don't know why group is trying to do, they don't understand the market perspective. But if you have also never worked in market, you think that this is your pane of glass and everybody needs to follow that. So it comes to me very naturally, to be honest. And that's what I actually push my leadership team to, is that we have to understand and think from both perspectives. So we just not do a top-down strategy, Shireen, we also do the bottom-up. So I went to every market CEOs, every market CTOs to say, hey, this is what the technology strategy or ops strategy should look like. What do you think? And then they say, oh, in Philippines market, Sandeep, we need to look at this. In Singapore market, we need to look at that. So we collected everyone's, I would say, the voices and ensured that we refresh and we go back to them and close the loop. I'm a huge fan of closing the loop. I do not like things to be open, dangling out there, right? So even if I have delegated something, I would always like to make sure that that piece of thing was closed. So same way here. So we just not do one time collection of the input and just roll out the strategy. We again go back and back and back and make sure that after that, it is our strategy. So today we don't talk about the technology strategy as a group technology strategy is from group. It is our strategy. So if you go to Philippines, you see the same strategy. If you go to Indonesia, you see the same tech and all strategy. But of course, the KPIs are specific for the markets. There are there is a North Star and there is a, the group like this, which we need to, achieve. But our starting point would be different. And we need to be appreciative of, to your earlier point, of the culture. Japan works in a very different way versus Hong Kong versus Singapore. So you need to be able to look at your people, process, and tech, all the three elements of it, to create that solution. And it's not one size fit all as well, Shireen. So when we create solutions, I like to always give this notion of, you'll hear a lot about one modularity, which is becoming another unique offering from our side. A lot of people are asking me about one modularity, is because truly making your backend architecture modular. What does that mean? That means that I really have a stack 1 to 10, just to give an example. And ultimately, we are insurance business, right? So 1 to 7 would be common. For example, either we're in the protection business or we're in the savings. So that fundamentals of insurance, servicing, claims, new business will remain the same. But the way I do that selling in Singapore, for example, if I'm 100% digital, the experience would be different, or through IFAs and broker-leds versus agency versus bank assurance. That would be different. And the solution which I build needs to cater to these differentiations of the market. And that's why I say it is 1 to 7. We build it as a common stack and leave that flexibility of 8, 9, 10 for market by market to have that customization. So that when you go to Indonesia, not just the language requirements in this, like our Hong Kong, and even Japan, but also the experience is consistent, in line with what a Japanese customer would expect. It's in line with, consistent with what a Malaysian customer would, expect, and so on and so forth. So having that appreciation, the cultural appreciation, having that switched on mindset of we all are different and we need to create that cohesive, consistent tech and this solutioning, but experience must be catering to the customers in each market. And that has been our success story. Our success story is not one size fit all. We take the commonalities. Of course, we need to be efficient, I told you. So we need to build that 1 to 7 common stack. It will be crazy to have 10 different customer portal looking in 10 different markets. It'll be crazy to have 10 different journeys in 10 markets. It's crazy to have different distribution, tools in 10 different markets. And that's what we have been after. We've been after to get platform-led mindset rather than app-led mindset. So we have our the distribution platform is Q. Our the customer platform is Omni. Our the operations platform is Opus. And enabling all these three platforms is the modularized architecture, which I call it as one modularity. So that's what we are driving our organization towards, to bring that consistency of experience, bring that efficiency, and also 100% business alignment, because then everybody can move towards that common goal. Because at the end of the day, it's all about customer. We are a customer-led company, and it's all about customer at the end of the day. And if we are as good as, if we've created anything, and if our customers are not feeling it, you as a customer, Shireen, if you don't feel that differentiated experience when you come to FWD, and doesn't matter whether you talk to FWD agent or through your bank or through our website or our application, you got to get that, differentiated experience. And we've been very proud. We get a lot of these social media posts. Even the regulators post it when they experience us, versus the other. But we don't sit on our laurels. We are constantly going back and challenging ourselves. So hopefully it gives you a more rounded answer around how really it needs to work.
Yeah, and I have to say, Sandeep, it's tough. It's tough to create that personalization, that localization strategy even. But it seems like you're on the right track in terms of finding that recipe that works for you, of establishing a group strategy, but also giving that space and authority on the ground itself for your individual leaders to further explore and expand on how they like to serve their customers. And I hark on the customers a lot because, like you mentioned, you are a very strong customer-facing business. And from our own insights as well, we see customer expectations are growing tremendously. And like you mentioned, also the Gen Z, the millennials, they have their own ideas of what they like out of a service that they perceive and receive from where they shop. And in terms of FWD service expectations and service experience, what are you actually hearing from customers on what they would like more out of you guys? And how do you kind of marry technology with that, creating that technology support to deliver really strong customer outcomes?
Yeah, so like I said, we're a customer-led company, and we always look at what we call it as a customer engagement and experience survey, which we do independently, done by KPMG for us every year, to look at the customer experience score for market by market. What are the voice of the customers? We do from time to time the VOC surveys to ensure that we stay true to what we are saying from a customer angle, right? Not just what we think that we are good or not. In 2022, all our markets, our customers have either rated us good or great, right? So that's, for example, last year also we had a very good rating from market but again, as we embark into future, we are also looking at how do we take it to the next level. So not all markets at the same level, to be honest, right? And we need to bring every market to be at least at the same, a minimum standard, for example. And that's where our focus has been. We want to create solutions for all markets where we are in the higher top end of the percentile on getting whether STP, STU, which is straight to processing, straight to underwriting, digital adoption. Digital adoption, we are already higher 90s, right? So for me, how do we then take it to the next level of straight to processing, NPS, like claims NPS? We are across the group. If you look at, we are 84% plus on claims NPS, for example, on our, the customer app. But we want to bring that across the board for all our businesses. And we need to bring all markets to the same level. Certain markets we're doing extremely well. Certain markets we're still not there. And that's where our focus is.
And just to follow up on that. So in terms of how different markets are, perceiving technology differently as well, customers are also perceiving technology differently. And we spoke about it a bit earlier about how, different generations see it differently. And some maybe are a bit unsure of how they would be able to adapt. So how would FWD make it easier for customers to adapt to technology as it grows as quickly as it possibly can?
Yeah, we have a famous philosophy of 3 steps. If you're not able to get to where you want to get into the 3 steps, then we need to go back and look at the experience, for example. So if you're coming there and if you're quickly, and it could be as simple as ask an agent to call. So it doesn't have to be like, take you through the full journey. If you're a Gen Z and Gen Y, 45% of our customer base are in that category, for example, right? And it's growing at the same time. I think it's in the 60s as 60% now. But that goes to show that we are not leaving anybody behind, like I told you. But at the same time, if you are our parents' generation who wants to speak to someone, I want to enable that. But I don't want to speak to a person, but I want to speak to a bot. I need to enable that. For example, certain cultures are shy. They do not like to speak to people. They rather speak to a bot. They're more happy about speaking to a bot. So how do we enable that, for example? But it could not be a traditional bot of FAQs led. It has to be able to, and that's where we will get into AI and generative AI led, the voice bots, for example. So it's actually giving you more personalized or experience-based conversation rather than, just, and making it easy. For example, sometimes I want to speak to the human. I want to mention, I was just in Thailand, and one of the social media posts was from our regulator was that the regulator called up another insurer and they asked, and the person picked up and they asked them so many questions before they can give just the answer about the details of what the person was looking for. And when they call FWD, it was picked up by our AI chat. It asked just the last 3-4 digits of the national ID, and quickly it gave the answer what the regulator was looking for. So now these are the testaments which we get directly from our regulators. Hong Kong MA last year, I remember, posted that, literally within seconds, the money was banked into the account. Not just, so we believe in instant claims, not just instant processing. So if you come through our app, and we know that you pass through all our rules quickly, we just don't tell you that, oh, the claims have been done. It's actually the money in your bank. That's what you see. And that's what, again, last year, one of the regulator had posted that, guys, it is true that the money has come in my bank, not just the straight through processing. So I think, how do we push the envelope to go to the next level? From our parents' generation to the baby boomers to Gen Y to Gen X, it has to cater to everyone. And it needs to understand, and you should be able to get your profile and understand what you're looking for. Like I said, quickly. So I'm looking for this thing. And I give you that preference quickly to say, do you want to speak to someone? Do you want to speak to our chatbot? Or do you want to speak and you want to just do your self-service, for example? So we don't leave anything. So we look at everything. So it's not just this or that, based on what you want and how quickly you get it, right? So we are very passionate about what am I looking for? Am I looking for a product information? Am I looking for servicing request? Or I'm looking for somebody to speak to? I should be able to get to that customer needs pretty quickly. Also, financial literacy, as you know, in this part of the world, we have to constantly focus on financial wellness, not just physical and mental wellness, which we are passionate about. How do we look at your financial literacy? So, for example, your financial needs analysis. So you come to our portals or app, and your ability to be able to do financial needs analysis, or through our agents, if you sit through our agents or our bank assurance channel, they take you through a proper financial needs analysis so that we avoid any mis-selling, we avoid any overselling. So we need to make sure that this is the right product for you, and then we sell it, the right thing for you. But also giving you that option that people like you. So our AI, for example, the tool gives you the protection score and tells you people like you were looking for these things as well. Are you interested, for example? So ultimately, like I said, we are a sales-driven organization, but it's a difference between overselling and being on your face versus a really meaningful nudges. And if you're interested, we take you to the next level. And if you're not interested, we leave you, rather than being hounding on your face and you have to buy, you have to buy, you have to buy. That's not what we are after. We are wanting to create that differentiated experience. But if you don't want to go through that journey and want to quickly I want to speak to someone, I should have that option. I should not force you that, no, you have to complete this journey before you speak to anybody else. So that's where we create differently. And certain businesses, for example, Philippines, people prefer mobile. They do not prefer laptop or computers, or the iPads or Android pads. So we created solutions which are giving you the same experience, but on a mobile device. So it should not be just take that portal or iPad and dump it into the mobile, frame, but it's actually redefining the experience. So if you're going through your mobile device, which is shorter, even if you have the Pro Max or something, your experience and journey has to be catering to that, rather than saying that, oh, I converted the same 10 pages and now I have just put it on the mobile phone, which will be a very clunky experience because every time you have to zoom out, zoom in. That's not what we are doing. So we reimagine. Every time this happens, we work with our digital team and we reimagine the journeys and then ensure that the backend is delivering that differentiated experience. And again, I don't need to build 3 times that thing. So it's also important that, remember what I said about being efficient. So how do we create landing zones so that we create the code once and deploy into various, not just the frameworks or the mobile frames to iPad frames to, the website, but also truly having the same piece of code working in a different kind of, devices. And that's where you will bring the efficiency. Otherwise, if you imagine, if your development team has to do 3 different sets of development, one for laptop, one for this, one for that, it's again, you're not efficient. So you have to embrace technology internally, make it efficient, and that should be evident through your customer experience. And it's all about your voice of customer. And as I kept saying, end customer, our distribution channel, as well as employees. All 3 must tell us that, yes, this is delivering the efficiency we are after.
And once again, we are going back to that level of personalization that you're creating for customers, giving them choices, which all of us like. And you're also covering FWD's back by giving FWD choices as well for the team to, decide that they have this variety of tools to deploy, and really creating a seamless experience all around for both ends of the organization. And you raised a point earlier about AI, and so I had to ask you about AI. So in your mind, I assume you will be exploring AI already. But what are some of the use cases that you are specifically seeing in the market or experimenting with yourself? And how would FWD roll out a viable use case? And what are the intended outcomes you'd like to see?
I would say I would like to add the word responsible AI. Again, remember, we are a regulated business and we are very responsible for our customers. So I just don't talk about AI, I talk about responsible AI. So that is at the, the core of everything when we look at. As of, I would say it's not the new thing. Since 2019, we have been looking at AI. And we have integrated it through, like I said, our protection score, people like you, in our automated underwriting, we have AI-led underwriting. We have some of the things now we're looking at AI claims so that we are able to get to these, I would say, meaningful outcomes as we speak. In fact, as of 2022, we already have more than 600 use cases and 200 AI models. And in 2024, now, since last 1 year, since generative AI, we are moving the needle not just from AI, now to look at generative AI. You know how the generative AI has really advanced in the just last 1 year. And that's going back to our initial conversation of how industry, not just the industry is changing, how the technology transformation has happened. And if you see Google's or Microsoft or even AWS talking about this piece of revolution is fastest so far in our human, civilization. So how do we be out there, but perform in a responsible way? Because it also has its own, the dangers of it, right? For example, so how do we have we have an AI council, or we call it as an AI subcommittee, to look at all our AI models and ensure that those AI models have been implemented in a responsible way, are governed, not just talked about. So we work with the second line as well as the third line, and we have an independent AI subcommittee. We have a technology risk subcommittee, which talks about cybersecurity, information security, but also we have separate dedicated AI subcommittee, which is run by our compliance team. And we are part of that to look at every AI models which we have implemented so far. It is done in a responsible way, and we have a proper governance around it. So I think but we have been embracing. We already have 600 use cases. What we are excited about now, we're looking at into the future is fraud detection, for example, claims fraud detection, our ability to process large set of data through the large language model quickly. That's what we are after. So there are specific achievements we have achieved around the claims fraud detection. Now we're looking at claims, the whole claims efficiency itself, right? So for example, our claims assessor, how do we then give them more deeper insight quickly through our generative AI so that the decisions can be made in a faster way, but also in a meaningful way. So I think these are some of the specific examples where we are after, but we are looking at generative AI in every aspects of our business. We're looking at from a new business perspective, from our distribution toolkit perspective, on our Omni by FWD, for example. We have now, created those avatars, which are generative AI led, which helps you look at some of those experiences very differently, not just Mirror Me, where you take a picture and it tells you what's your health condition is, but also making it slightly more different, not just fun, but really engaging in our platform. So we're looking at generative AI on all angles, from a customer servicing claims perspective, on new business side perspective, and processing large set of data, for example, perspective, but also looking at virtual avatars and how it can enable you to engage with us better. And I gave you some specific examples where we have already started to see results.
And those are some very interesting, but also necessary areas where you're kind of implementing AI. For myself, if I were to pick an insurance claim, I would definitely want to, ensure it's a fast and, I would say, enjoyable process in a way. I don't want to stress about, making a claim or being concerned that, it won't come in, So if the company can ensure that it's a better process, it's comforting to know that I can trust, you guys. And especially because you need to position yourselves as trusted advisors. That's all the more important why you need to have the right technology in
And I would
place.
Shirin, that we cannot forget. So we always talk about digital heart with human touch. That the human aspects of insurance we cannot forget. Ultimately, when God forbid you have when you have a outpatient and minor claims is fine, but when you have death claims, we need to handle that with the sensitivity as well. So it's not just about, okay, I gave you the digital experience, but I also give you FWD care. So we have FWD care, for example, which is our entire end-to-end, the claims handling as an attach, which we give it to our customers in few markets, where we take care of you throughout the whole journey, rather than just saying that, okay, your claims got processed and here is the check, but also about how's your mental state? Do you need some help there? Do you want to speak to someone? And do you, so again, not being intervening, again, but being very culturally sensitive, but also if you need me, we are here. So that human element of insurance is what keeps me in this business. So I'm not just about all the fancy tools and digital experience only, but also what is that human aspects. Ultimately, we are humans for a reason. Our responsibility to create the better world for our next generation cannot go away. Our responsibility to ensure that on a day-to-day basis, we do not forget the human element of it. I'm very passionate about these things, right? So when we create solutions, we need to make sure that the human touch is equally important, Shirin. So we don't want to be a cold company, which is just a bunch of robots which are doing all the things and no feeling. And even with generative AI, you can have emotions in that. But humans are human, and that human touch. But we are very proud of our digital, the advancement and experience. But we always say digital heart with human touch.
That's the perfect way to end our conversation. And it was the reason why I thought it was such, it would be powerful to have you speak on, both technology and people, since you handle both of those elements in FWD. So thank you so much for giving us an inside peek into your role. And of course, the many complex projects that you've spearheaded and are spearheading for FWD. And to our audience, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you again next time. Thank you so much, Sandeep.
Thank you so much, Shirin, for having me today. And, it's an honor. Whenever your role gets expanded, it's always an honor for us to be able to serve for our customers. And I hope you are our customer. I hope you also get that experience too, Shirin. So it was absolutely a pleasure and great set of questions. So thank you for having me today.
Pleasure's all mine. Thank you so much, Sandeep.